All right, it looks like I am live here. Welcome to Joe's Disc Golf Podcast as I try to figure everything out. Oh, shut up, YouTube. YouTube, you're just I don't even know right now. Go home, YouTube, you're drunk. You are so drunk right now. I simultaneously have no viewers, 3 viewers, a bad connection, and an excellent connection. So I don't like YouTube analytics. Live is trash. I don't know what else to say about that. But you know what I do have to say? A lot about disc golf. And I'm Joe with Joe's Disc Golf Podcast and welcoming you to another episode here. It has been a fantastic week. Lots of ups, lots of downs. Ups include, well, lots of fun at the Celebrity Pro-Am disc golf thing at Funky Farms. Everybody got a little funky. Team No Hair Long Hair was pretty awesome. Or Long Hair No Hair? I forget. I forget how that one went. But it was so much fun to watch. I was just thoroughly enjoying that there. We got a whole bunch of great topics here, including 5,000 sanctioned events this year, new affiliate countries, E.D.G.E and Pdga youth team up. It's a double team supreme. 2020 Disc Golf Disc of the Year. And let's not forget, we're also going to talk about Team Hot Cocoa for life. If you haven't seen that on Instagram, well, we will talk about that towards the end of this program. But without further ado, we have to thank our sponsor, Log. What rolls downstairs, a loner in pairs, rolls over your neighbor's dog? What's great for a snack and it fits on your back? It's Log, Log, Log. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood. Log from Blammo. So, did you get out and play any disc golf? I need to adjust one of my screens here so I can actually see. Ooh. Mr. Johnson, welcome, sir. Blammo. And yes, I am sitting in the lovely basement. That is where I am. Now I'm able to watch this, pull up the show notes there. Got that, got this, got that, got all the stuff here. Yes, sitting in the lovely basement right here, getting everything rolling, getting some momentum going on YouTube just in time to have to take a break when a child arrives here in about 2 months, just under. That is going to be fun, and that is what I was afraid would be happening here. But did anybody get out and play some disc golf? I know I did. I played in League last Tuesday, right after I played a 3-round, 2-day tournament up in Michigan, which was a poor life choice, was playing League, because I went from averaging a 940 round to, unfortunately, averaging an 837 round. Oh my god, I screwed the pooch so hard on that one. What's up, Foxcraft? How are you? Hopefully you're doing great out there. And yeah, so that was fun. Then took a couple days off, decided to go with a new putter, which I don't have with me right now. But the new putter is from Westside Discs, the Swan 2 Electric Boogaloo. It is actually called the Swan 2 because names are whatever. There's also the Swan and the Swan Reborn. Now, the Swan 2 is got more like a mid-range grip on it, more of a mid-range feel, I should say, with the way the rim is. So fortunately for me, I like my mid. I like all my mids, my Bounty and my Justice and my EMAC Truth. So this one felt great in the hand. I was looking for something a little less stable than the Judge. The Judge has been my putter for years upon years upon years, and I love that disc. However, as a kind of natural hyzer putter, I was having to contort my wrist, just like turn it over and throw it and just go, blah, I can't get this, just to make it come out flat. And unfortunately, that wasn't working so great. I was missing putts that I feel like I should have made. I mean, don't we all say that? But call it fate, call it luck, call it whatever. I stumbled across the Swan 2 Electric Boogaloo, And that putter, I played at Sunday doubles this past weekend and was nailing putts. If it was in the circle, I was hitting it. It was great. I felt great. I don't know if it was a mental thing, just talking about like, hey, you know what? New putter, no experience with this. Go out there, no fear, Shakespeare, and draining putts all day long. However, the judge still is in my bag for those longer distances and windier days. And you lost your favorite disc the last time you played. Foxcraft, I'm sorry. Like, I been there, done that, man. I I can one up that. At the tournament I was warming up for a couple weeks ago, I was throwing some shots, just warming up on one of the holes, and I left one of my discs out there. My E.D.G.E Truth, my slightly overstable yellow E.D.G.E Truth. And I figured, I realized after the round started, I was like, oh, hey, guess what? Whatever, I'll get it back. Someone will call me or text me or just say, hey, moron, you left this out in the middle of the fairway. Played both rounds of the tournament, did not get the disc back. It was very unfortunate. I was very sad. I like that one. I do have two. I have another one that is slightly less stable. It was that yellow one. I just felt like I could crank on it a little more and it wouldn't flip over as much as my orange one, but say la vie. That is that. Unfortunately, I got fun stuff in the mail here. A first run Grand Royal Trust in Blurple. It is a blue-purple swirly mixy thing here. Again, that royal plastic, super, super nice. Numbers on it say it's like an E.D.G.E Truth. I only got the disc yesterday, didn't have a chance to throw it. I also got the first run Royal Sense Faith. This is their putter in that line. Not like it feels like if you're familiar with dynamic discs or Latitude 64 or West Side, I would say it feels kind of like BT Hard or Classic Hard / Prime, somewhere in there. Smoother. It feels good. I don't like the rim. It's not a beaded putter. It's a beadless putter. Numbers on it are a 2301, so I believe that puts it in league with the E.D.G.E Judge with less glide. I believe that's about where it is. Can't wait to get out and throw it, play with it, and see what happens there. I mean, they're both very pretty discs. I mean, this is a gray swirl burst-ish, and the blurple is actually pretty cool. I can't tell how well it's showing up on camera. I have the Maiden. I've had the Maiden since I did a trilogy challenge. For those listening on podcast, Foxcraft says if you need a throwing putter, I use the Maiden. I can rip that one. I do like the Maiden. I do have a Maiden. I got that at the trilogy challenge, that 2017, 2018, whenever it was a trilogy challenge disc. I like it. However, I find it just a touch understable for me. I really, really like throwing the Judge as my throwing putter. However, I can't seem to find it in anything other than like Classic Blend or Classic Soft or Prime. And the courses I would use this on would make that a very poor life choice because they are very wooded courses. And Prime Plastic does not hold up to a lot of a lot of tree hits. And Classic Soft definitely does not. I threw one soft off the tee once, and it looks like a mountain range now. It's all wavy and messed up, and it's not good. They did Dynamic Disc put out towards the beginning of this year. They did put out that they had a production schedule, and on that schedule was supposed to be some lucid judges. So I'm really holding out for a lucid judge. I believe, like, I like more stable discs. I mean, everybody says that the E.D.G.E Truth is their go-to mid-range. Mine is the Justice. And I can't throw the Justice as far as I can throw an E.D.G.E Truth. But if it's under 250 or at 250, I'm probably pulling out the Justice unless I need something to go super duper straight. In which case, then yes, I will take the E.D.G.E Truth. Whoa. Ugh. So having some issues with my mic holder here. You get what you pay for when you pay for, I think it was $10 off of Amazon. So go hobby stuff. And the Color of the Faith is really cool. I originally asked for pink. They gave me a call later that day saying, hey, they're out of pink by the time I ordered it. And it was, it is what it is. I used to throw the anchor. I did. I found it to be too close to the E.D.G.E Truth, in my opinion. I've got one. Oh, it's in a box, actually, not far from me, but it's probably towards the bottom. Let me check real quick. To give you an idea of how long I've had this, this is from the Next Gen Disc Golf Tour, the Latitude 64. Boom. Gray, it's beat up. I liked it until I got my hands on the E.D.G.E Truth, and I used to bag them both. This is a max weight. This is 180 grams. I used to bag them both. However, they were just too close, and I just preferred the E.D.G.E Truth. That's what it was. So I just, there's nothing wrong with that. You just get what you like and just keep rolling with it. Like, I will never tell someone the reason you aren't playing well, the reason you're missing X, Y, and Z is because you're not throwing this company's discs. I'll never say that. Like, if you want to throw all Innova or all Discraft or Dynamic or Mint discs, Infinity discs, MVP, if you want to throw a whole bag of just those brands, awesome, great, fantastic. I throw Trilogy. I'm on Team Trilogy, so I throw Westside, Latitude 64, and Dynamic discs. That's what I throw. That's what I know. So if you're asked, if someone comes up to me and goes, "Hey, I'm looking for an overstable mid that can fit this slot in my bag," I will hand them my Justice and go, "Here you go. This is what I throw. This is what I know. This is what I think will work for what you're asking for." Now, I'll never say I've had people say this to me. The reason you missed that shot or the reason you did bad on whatever shot, your drive was bad and you ended up in the woods because you're throwing a Raider. You should throw a Destroyer. I'm like, no, I ended up in the woods because I can't throw. It has nothing to do with the arrow. This is all the Archer. The Archer just didn't hit his line. That's why I ended up in the woods. That's why I ended up on another fairway. It has nothing to do with the disc and everything to do with how I threw it, to be completely honest. Yeah, and exactly. Foxcraft says, I have an E.D.G.E too, but the anchor has a better feel for my hand. And honestly, the E.D.G.E Truth has a better feel in my hand. And that's all it really comes down to. Between all the companies out there now and all the variations in discs, you can find an understable, overstable, neutral, whatever with a bead, without a bead, different rim sizes and everything, and it doesn't matter. Like, there's so many options out there. You can find a disc that will fit whatever need and however you want the feel. Like, I will admit the E.D.G.E Judge is a great disc, or the Warden is a great disc. I don't like them. I like beaded putters. So to me, those are just terrible discs for me. That's it. Like, I don't like them just because they don't have a bead. Now you throw a bead on them and I'll probably be right there with you. And sorry about the mic noise here, but things are coming unscrewed and unglued and unhinged. There we go. I think I got it fixed right there. But generally speaking, like, hey, whatever. You throw what you want. I don't care. That's a nice little fun tangent we've been on. There's something else I was going to say that I can't remember off the top of my head. Just reading through YouTube comments on past videos, it's fun. It's so much fun. I am simultaneously essentially the greatest thing since sliced bread in terms of disc golf news, and at the very least, a close relation to Satan and ruining the sport. All at the same time. You know, it's been great. I love the internet. The internet, like, it makes me smile. It makes me giggle because it's so fun. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I love reading through the comments. Like, I don't take any of it personally. I was contacted by someone I had played disc golf with at a tournament last year in the Indiana Fall Series. I played on a card with a guy who shall remain nameless. He actually sent me a Facebook message the other day, yesterday. That was only yesterday. Time keeps on slipping, that's for sure. And he basically said, "Hey, stumbled across your channel. You thought you'd do a great job. I don't know." He's like, "I don't know if you remember me." It took me a minute because we only played, as far as I remember, we only played on a card once at a tournament last year. And once I saw his picture, I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember him." And it was actually really nice. He said some nice things, and like those nice things, I do take more personally because they're nice things. But the negativity and the hate, like, whatever. I had one guy call me a fraud on one of my videos. I was like, cool, whatever. I don't care. I do the best that I can and believe in what I do, and I just don't care. Like, oh, what is the quote? It's by Kant. There are many things that I believe that I shall never say, but I shall never say the things I don't believe. So that's pretty much it. So, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I will get it right 100% of the time. In fact, I was contacted by someone Worlds Committee, wanting to talk about some stuff that that I had said, some comments I had made, and I wanted to clear the air. Unfortunately, the Ulti-World article came out, which I will be doing a video on that one, talking about the how do I want to say this? Talking about all the issues and things that came up, the controversies that came up during Pro Worlds, and so a lot of things were there. I don't. I mean, there are some conclusions I came to, which happens, but and that was based off what the player said and what information was available. I don't have any contacts. I wish I did. I'm working on that. Disc golf journalism. Who knew that I would end up doing that, considering I have a degree in sports medicine. But hey, and my English teachers would be looking at me like, basically that whole thing of with Ralph, me fail English, that's impossible. Yeah, right there. Me and Super Nintendo Chalmers just hanging out. But contacted, and there were things that I said, and I did hedge some of my comments. Particularly, the one that stands out to me was the one where the Pdga literally painted lines overnight. In the Ulti-World Disc Golf article, they had mentioned that the Mulligans, I believe it was Mulligan's staff, did not want them to put down any strings for lines or any paint there. So Mulligan's was not very happy when the Pdga came out and did it. The TD came out one day and just was like, he was there at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, according to the article, and was like, where the hell did these lines come from? So, there's a lot of things happening there. I think a couple things have seemed to be consistent here. One, new players like Brody are calling the Pdga out because guys and gals who've been around the sport, kind of grown up with it, with disc golf, have been in it for a long time, are just going with it's always been this way, which, hey, we all get in that rut. Trust me. Like, whether it's your job personally, like, that just doesn't, you don't think about that as often, and it doesn't normally make national news unless it's, you're, I don't know, some major corporation who's doing some really shady, nasty things. I mean, insert corporation and shady, nasty thing, it seems like, here in 2021. But, they do that. Your job, you get kind of in that rut, and then you get someone new in there who's like, hey, this ain't right. Or on top of that, you get the Disc Golf Pro Tour, who's just kind of raised the bar. They've upped the standard of what a pro event should be and how it should run. And that's good and bad. Like, it is competition, and generally speaking, competition does breed better success. So hopefully the PDGA in the upcoming events, I don't know how much they can change this year, but I'm hopeful for 2022 that they'll up their game and make things better there, and then DGPT has to up their game, and it just makes everything better. Honestly, that's what it's all about. Like, just make things better for the sport. Just get it out there. Um, that's my opinion there. And like I said, I just keep trying to stay consistent, keep my opinions consistent, and just keep out the negativity, which, if you're having issues keeping out the negativity, might I recommend a book that I am halfway through right now. It is called The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. It was written in the 50s, I want to say. Older book, has a lot of religious overtones to it. So if that's not your thing, he's a Christian pastor, or was. I'm 90% sure, 99% sure he passed away by now, considering he was an older gentleman when he wrote the book in the 50s. 70 years later, I think he's passed on. But it's a lot of things, like, you don't even have to take the religious aspect. It's just basically, it boils down to try to keep good thoughts in there. Instead of, a great example is, instead of looking at, say, a 25-footer and saying, don't miss this putt, that's a negative thought. What you want to think is, I will make this putt. That's basically what it boils down to. There are a whole bunch of different strategies, mental strategies. I highly recommend it. It's like $5 on Apple Books. I'm sure Kindle, same thing. You can probably pick it up as a paperback if you want. It has some good stuff in it. But I guess that is enough rambling. That has been quite a long time here. If you're into mindfulness and personal success, try out Feeling Good by David D. Burns. I'll have to look into that, Mr. Tyke Films. That is, unfortunately, with everything going on, I can only read one. Like, I've honestly been reading The Power of Positive Thinking. I've been reading it for like a month and a half, 2 months, because I can only get a couple pages through before things get crazy in my life with work, trying to keep up with the podcast and all that stuff. I need to make more time for reading in general. However, that is just kind of how it's going. And yeah, that's just one book to read into. The other thing I've been reading a lot of is One Punch Man. It's a manga, and it is hilarious. But if you're not into that, this isn't that kind of podcast, so I'm not going to get too far into it. Maybe start up another podcast talking about all the random crap in my life. Isn't that just a normal podcast? Who knows? Anyway, let's, I guess, get into our topics here. We'll talk about our first one, which is 5,000 sanctioned events at the PDGA for 2020. As of July 13th, the PDGA has sanctioned 5,000 different events across 44 countries, and this is everything from your local league to pro events. Currently, the 5,000th event is the Flex Start Le Fay Naminigue Golf Course, a C tier in Naminigue, Quebec, Canada. I didn't take French in high school. I took Español. Si bueno, cerveza fría, por favor. There are more than one half of the 5,000 are C tiers. That is 3,001. Most importantly, 3,001. I think we need to get 68 more of those as C tiers, just to make it more fun. We also have in B tiers, that is the second most amount there, 1,130. The rest are leagues. I believe there's like 600 leagues, and then the rest is Pro Tour, like Elite Series and A-tier events. Just because the way the PDGA structures things, you have to have so many miles between A tiers, so many miles between B tiers, and I think technically so many miles between C tiers. That one's a little more loose because it's C tiers, and you're not, generally speaking, people aren't going to drive as far to go to a C tier. But that's one thing I think the PDGA needs to adjust, is how far the mileage requirements are for each one. But that's a whole separate discussion, and it's crazy to see how many that they've got going on here. They've had I think their last record was somewhere in the 4,000s for 2019. Obviously, 2020, they ended up having like 3,500 events, give or take. And considering events were shut down for roughly 6 months, that's pretty solid. That is insane that they're still able to get that many people with only about half a year. That just goes to show that all the local events, the local clubs are doing a great job. The um, Pdga is doing their thing, I guess. I mean, it's hard to tell. Like the Pdga is more of national scope. Where you really get into it is the local clubs, your local club leaders, your state leaders who help coordinate all the different state, C tiers and B tiers and all that stuff. And it's just a good time there. Um and that's kind of how we're growing the sport. That just goes to show how much we've grown, especially in 2020, and it just adds to the challenge to the a bit to the PDGA, but more so the manufacturers, where they don't know how many people are going to stick around. Like, yeah, tons and tons and tons of people started playing disc golf for the first time in 2020. Are they going to stick with it now that they're back working and they have their lives to do and all this other stuff? Like, disc golf is a great sport and you can play it pretty much any time. Places like Wisconsin, who generally pull their baskets for the winter, which kind of makes sense because most of the time you can't find the basket with all the snow that they get, especially when you're up further north, eh? Trust me, I lived up there, way the hell up there, eh? I was if you're familiar with any of the U.S. geography, I was south of Duluth by about 2 hours, so I was way north. Canada was about 3 hours away from me. It's more like 5 hours to get to anywhere you'd want to be, but so places like that, Minnesota, Wisconsin, North Dakota, they pull their baskets during the winter, generally speaking, because you can't play. But places like Indiana, Illinois, who leave them up all year, we'll see what happens. Who knows how many people are going to stick with it? I hope a lot of people stick with it, but I listen to Disc Golf Answer Man, and that's a dynamic disc podcast, and they're just kind of stuck in this middle ground of like, yeah, we need to make more discs. However, if we buy equipment to make more discs, is that going to be a good thing in the long haul? Because, if all of a sudden like your demand is high right now, but is it going to stay this high next year, 6 months from now, 12 months from now? Is that, or is it going to drop off and now you have this extra equipment that you bought that you can't totally pay for, which kind of is not a good way to do business. So, and I just use Dynamic Disc because they're the one who talk about it. They're the ones who talk about it. But Innova, Discraft, Discmania now is making their own disc, so they're going to be running into some of that. All those companies are thinking the same thing. So that's just kind of where that's at, kind of the state of disc golf right now. It's kind of this weird, like, how many people are going to stick with it? How many are going to get out of it? I don't know. But that's just kind of how that goes. And you know what else goes great? New Pdga affiliate countries. Yes, people, this is going to be kind of a weird, slow-ish news day. We're talking about new affiliate countries here. Pdga International Director Brian Hoeninger, Hoeniger, kind of a tradition to mispronounce names, recently announced 2 more countries have been added to the Pdga affiliation countries list. Colombia and Portugal. Si bueno. They were recently added here. They're holding their first, I believe, not Lithuania. Lithuania's coming up. Portugal's holding an event coming up. It'll be like their first one, which is awesome. Same with Colombia. I believe they're both are in their capital because that's where a majority of their populations live, and it's easier to play disc golf. Lithuania, which was previously Pdga affiliated with Vilnius Club in the capital city, is now affiliated with the newly formed National Disc Golf Association, Federacija Lietuvos Disc Golfo. There is a link in the description if you want to go and try to pronounce it, because Lord knows I can't. The country as a whole has been affiliated with the disc golf with the PDGA for the last 10 years. Currently, there are 15,000 active members outside of the US and Canada. They've added 5,000 people just this year. That is bonkers. They have added 50% to their international roles, and that's just PDGA members. I'd be curious to see how many are outplaying now who aren't PDGA members, who see no value in joining this membership, joining this club, because whoop-de-doo, my country hosts 1 or 2 events a year. There's no point for me to join. Now, they might be complete, full dues-paying members to their local club, but that has absolutely nothing to do with being a PDGA member. So it's great just to see that disc golf as a sport is growing. I'd be curious to see if they'll have any pro touring people somewhere in the near future. Beer Outdoor Briggs. Winter disc golf is alive and well in Wisconsin. The sloppy springtime is when they pull the baskets. Where I was, they pulled them in. They pulled them right before the snow came, so August. And I'm kidding, but they did pull them before the winter really hit. And then some of my friends live up in Green Bay behind the Cheddar Curtain, and Packers suck, but that's a whole different point. That's a different podcast altogether. And they pull them for the winter. One of the courses obviously is at a ski hill, so yeah, which talked about that last week. There are more and more courses going up at ski hills, which obviously will pull the baskets, although that could make for an interesting time. You could either try ski, like instead of, you got biathlon where you ski and shoot a gun. You could have biathlon where you ski and try to throw a disc in while you're passing by. Also, don't hit the basket. It won't end well. You versus steel basket is not going to go well. But yeah, I was way north. I was Rice Lake, Wisconsin, so way up there. Got real cold, real snowy, real fun. I mean, the course they only had one course in town at the time. It was a lot of fun. It was at a community college up there, UW-Barron County, and it was fun. It had some woods. It had a lot of open. It had a lot of tall prairie grass that kind of made it as unofficial OB and a disc eater for sure. There's still a couple discs I'm waiting on, and I haven't lived up there for 7-8 years now. Still waiting. Not saying that you can't have great disc golf up in Wisconsin or Minnesota or anywhere up north. I know Disc Golf, Answer Man, some of those guys went up to Alaska and played in a flex start that started at midnight or 11 p.m. because the sun doesn't set until like 3 in the morning at this time of year, give or take, which is awesome. So the sun never sets on disc golf, and that is because our next topic, E.D.G.E and the Pdga youth and education double-teamed some PE teacher. That's right. The educational disc golf, I forget what the E stands for. But E.D.G.E, the thing that Jomez donates to every time there's a star frame on a pro card, they all contributed to a clinic that was held in Humble Independent School District near Houston, Texas, where nearly 100 PE teachers were exposed to disc golf this summer. Hopefully they got their shots because exposure to disc golf is very contagious and you'll develop a severe plastic addiction. They taught them how to play disc golf and how to teach disc golf, which is very important. I've filled in, helped out with the high school that I work at, I do sports medicine at. I helped out. I had the PE teacher like, hey, you want to teach disc golf one day? And it was interesting because they just had a box of random discs. So some kids were throwing putters, some kids were throwing distance drivers, and it was difficult to try to teach some of that stuff, but it was simple. I was like, hey, this is the general arm motion. I wasn't getting crazy. I had 1 or 2 kids come up to me like, hey, I want to learn more. I want to do more. But the real thing was it's a gym class, and these kids are essentially being forced to play. So I'm not going to go in too crazy and just go like, hey, this is everything. This is how you do everything. This is the X step. This is a forehand. This is how you throw a roller. I can't throw a roller. I'm terrible at rollers. So I kept it simple. That's one of the keys there. Creekside Middle School is one of the several humble ISD schools that has a course on campus, as well as now we're gonna travel a bit north here. Hillside Elementary in Harrison, Michigan, also benefited from the Pdga and E.D.G.E collab. This is they have also a course on campus. When I was up in Grand Rapids, there is a school outside of Grand Rapids, a high school that has a 9-hole course around their athletics field. One of the schools out here in Indiana, near where I live, also has a course. Manchester High School has a course on campus. It is a nice little 9-hole. My only concern is that, the way a couple of the holes are set up, you throw either over or really close to a tee pad for a hole you're going to. So if it's kind of busy, it's not safe, to say the least. So E.D.G.E is a great disc golf thing. The Pdga gave them some grant money, some seeding money to develop a grant to help other PE teachers learn about disc golf, learn how to teach disc golf, and just get out there and do it, which is fantastic. I think it's a great thing that they're doing out there. Hopefully, things like that just keep going. So as long as Jomez keeps donating and other people keep donating too, I joke around, but we had a star bogey frame. That's how good we were playing a couple weeks ago. We had a star bogey frame, and I just looked. I was like, so star bogey frame, I believe Jomez gives us $25 for disc golf lessons. So if you guys are so inclined, go ahead and donate to E.D.G.E. I don't have their website off the top of my head. Just gonna guess it. You just search E.D.G.E disc golf and it will come up, and you'll be able to donate there. Help more people get involved in disc golf, which is what we want. And you know what else we want? We want to know the 2020 Disc of the Year, according to Ultiworld. They do this every year. I forget what the disc was for 2019. I think I have that article right here. They have it right here. Disc of the Year in 2019 was the... I can't find it. It's in this article somewhere. 2019 was the P Model S, and the 2018 was the Latitude 64 Explorer. I throw the Explorer a decent amount. I really like it. I haven't thrown the P Model S, but, obviously pretty good. So they took 20 months of tracking sales, flight charts, reviews, top pro comments, and throwing it themselves. Now, they usually put this out way earlier in the year, but because of the disc shortage, it's hard to track sales and everything. Like, the pandemic put a lot of stress on all these companies. So getting discs made and sales and all that kind of stuff, it was really hard to get a lot of people to throw these discs. So they delayed the process because of the pandemic. Now, if you're looking to vote on this, I have a link in the description below to the original article, and you can cast your vote by commenting on the original post on Instagram or on Facebook, or the original post at Ultiworld Disc Golf, ultiworld.discgolf.com / the link is in the article because it's / a whole bunch of things, and it's just not quite worth it. So these are the best discs from 2020. First off, and this is just going to be in the order that they appeared on the list according to Ultiworld, which is in alphabetical order, I believe. We've got the Alpaca from Infinite Discs. It is the quintessential beadless putter. It has a deeper rim for a more traditional putter feel. According to the pro Kona Panis, I started out putting with the D-Blend Alpaca because I love the feel of a deeper putter in my hand. The D-Blend plastic was nice, but I wanted something with a bit more grip. The Glow D-Blend Alpaca is everything I could ask for in a putting putter. It is very floaty, so I can always count on it to not go too far if I miss. It's not very overstable, so it flies to the basket with ease and little to no fade at the end from distance. That sounds really great for putting putter there. Go ahead, check that out. Infinite Discs sells it, so you could probably get that on Infinite Discs' website, as well as probably OTB and other resellers there. Next up, we have the Bounty from Dynamic Discs. This is a different feel for the Dynamic Discs mid-range lineup. It has a shallow beaded rim understable mid-range, and this is like a slower Maverick. The slower speeds, it is a straight flying disc with good glide. At faster speeds, it will move to the right. I can vouch for that. I've been throwing this. This is by far the most understable disc in my bag, and I like it. The problem I have with it is, at those slower speeds with the high amount of glide it has, it is very easy to blow past a basket at 200 feet. You feel like you're barely putting anything on it, and then suddenly it keeps on going. You're like, no, land, down, down, bad disc, bad bounty, bad. This is what AJ Risley has to say. So much glide, a little understable, carves up the woods on silky smooth, hyper flip lines. I'm guessing there's a typo there. Hyzer flip lines. The bounty has added so many new lines to my game. Cynthia Riccotti also had this to say. I use the bounty as a shorter escape. It is one of the straightest throwing mid-ranges I've ever thrown. I haven't thrown too many, but yes, it does finish incredibly straight. I thought the EMAC Truth finished pretty straight, but that thing looks like a Justice compared to the bounty. Moving on, we have the Essence by Disc Mania. Do it all fairway driver, similar to the TD2 from the original lines. Understable, great for distance drives, for your first distance driver. So if you have a slower arm speed, this is a good disc for you because you'll be able to find some success with it. The rounded semi-blunt nose allows for fantastic rollers, controlled backhands, and forehands. So this is a great beginner's disc, but it is not just for beginners. You can throw it as a pro. You can slow it down. It will go for days. You can throw it pretty much any way you want. Kyle Klein said that the Essence is a great disc for beginners and experienced players alike. It's a masterful roller and a phenomenal woods disc. So when you want that hyzer flip line, it is going to be super handy for you. And then Eagle Mcmahon had this to say. Eagle Mcmahon is a little more wordy than Kyle Klein. The Essence is probably the most beginner-friendly disc in the Disc Mania lineup. Anyone can throw the Essence, from pros with 600 foot of power to slower arms, or beginners can just throw it straight, and it's great. And it's a great disc to learn from. That was rough. I feel like there's some missing punctuation there. But I just copied and pasted this straight from Ultiworld Disc Golf article. I bagged the Essence for rollers and occasionally scramble shots for a fan grip hyzer that flips really fast. 2 thumbs up for the Essence. So Eagle McMahon really loves the Essence. Moving on, we have the Fierce from Discraft. This is an understable putter. It is a smaller diameter putter. Straight flights, effortless glide. Great for understable turnover and approach shots here. Paige Pierce had this to say. The Fierce is my pick for the disc of the year for many reasons. Partly because she helped design it. That was my own commentary there. Getting back to the quote, I think it was a huge statement in the growth and support of women's disc golf. Discraft allowed me the privilege to design a completely new mold. Naturally, I chose to make it a putter that would suit my preferred style of putting, point and shoot. Gotta say, I'm right there with her. It was designed with the intention of being a very straight and glidey disc so that when you go farther away from the target, you don't have to put as much hyzer finish, you wouldn't have to get as much of a hyzer finish that overstable putters get. Words are hard. Another plus is this mold is shallow, beadless rim, which feels great in any hand no matter big or small, and comes off of your fingers with a smooth release. As I mentioned earlier in this podcast, I don't like beadless putters. So while the Fierce may be a fantastic disc, I won't like it. I have yet to find a beadless putter that I like. And I've tried a lot of different beadless putters. Moving on to the FX2 by Prodigy Discs. This fits in between the F and H series, created with Chris Dickerson. Gotta have more cowbell. Wait, no, that's Bruce Dickerson. So close. Overstable fairway driver here. Faster arms will have a straight flight with a medium finish. It has strong wooden notes and hints of leather to it. Oh, wait, that's wine. Slower speeds are great for hyzer shots. It is a great hyzer disc. Chris Dickerson had this to say. The FX2 was designed with speed and glide in mind, while also having a reliable, slightly overstable finish. While only being a 9 to 10 speed disc, I've been able to throw it in place of my drivers because of the glide and control I get out of it being a slower disc. So it sounds like Chris Dickerson really likes the disc he designed, and Paige Pierce really liked the disc she designed. So, hey, you know what? That's good. That means they did a good job, both in design and, what explaining what they wanted out of a disc. I don't know if I could accurately describe what I'd want out of a disc if I had the opportunity to design one. Next, we have the Mustang by Mint Discs. Mint Discs is a Texas-based company, so if you haven't really heard of them too much, that's because they're more of a southern state disc. So go ahead, check them out. Straight mid-range, classic go-to mid shape. It has a beadless rim, which I don't mind the beadless rims for mid-ranges. Pick a line and let the Mustang run free is kind of the tagline there. D.G.E had this to say: the Mustang is one of the best straight flying mids I've thrown in quite a while, very reminiscent of the E.D.G.E Truth. Thrown flat and smooth, it is easy. It gets easy distance with a mid with a touch of reliable fade. Expect to get a dead straight flight for 90% of the flight before it starts to finish left. Left? Yeah, left. I know my right and my left. It's right there. Yeah. Really great workable disc that can fit in any mid-range lineup with a very similar feel in the hand to the top of the beadless mids. So, sounds like a great disc. I don't know. I haven't thrown it, so I don't know anything about it. The Reactor by MVP. If they had, I betcha next year it's gonna be the, what was that James threw in? The Photon? Fits between the vector and the axis. The modern profile and enhanced gyro effect allow for more glide than the vector and more stability than the Reactor. First member of MVP's next generation of mid-ranges. James Conrad had this to say: the Reactor is a fantastic mid-range that I think anyone could find room for in their bag. It can handle as much power as I throw at it, and it comes out of my hand super clean. The Reactor can make some great slow turning or fading shots, but really excels on a flat, straight line. Sounds like he really likes it. So go ahead again. Go to Ulti-World Disc Golf. Find the Facebook post, the Instagram post, or the original post, and you can go ahead and get your vote in. Mine is going to be towards the Bounty, only because, honestly, that's the only one I've tried out of all of these. And I also really like that disc. I've never thrown anything flippy, and that was the first flippy disc I've thrown, and I liked. So, we have our final topic here. This is going to be In the Bag with Colten Montgomery and Kona Panis. Now you're probably wondering, why am I talking about an In the Bag? Who gives a flying rip about an In the Bag? What the frack is going on? I may or may not be restarting Battlestar Galactica, the 2003 series. So, let's get this fracking topic on topic here. So, they're talking about this. So, at the end of this joint In the Bag with Colten Montgomery and Kona Panis, they're finishing up their video, and Colten pretty much goes, hey, actually, I've got one more. One of the most important discs in my bag, and I think to Kona. So, very important disc indeed. Turns out it had a proposal written on the disc. They made a special stamp for it, special t-shirts, and it, I can't remember what it said right off the top of my head. It was posted on Instagram here. So if you haven't seen it, then I recommend you get out there and see it. The video is about 10-15 minutes long, but, you can skip to the last 2 minutes or so. It said on there, will you marry me? Hot Cocoa for Life, spelled K-O-C-O. That's fantastic. I think it's awesome that they did that. Really, I can honestly say, watching that video, watching the few minutes there, Colten was very calm and collected throughout the whole thing. I can speak from experience. I was crapping bricks the entire time waiting to do my proposal. So good for him for doing that and doing it on Instagram and publishing that video. So there is a special disc out there with Hot Cocoa for Life on it, as well as the proposal. Hopefully that I wonder if they'll sell something like that. Maybe a Hot Cocoa for Life disc. Who knows? I don't know. Not into that game there. But that is about all we have time for here at Joe's Disc Golf Podcast. Hopefully you've all enjoyed what we've talked about here. Disc of the year, talking about random crap here and there. It's been a blast. Trying to get more and more videos out here, trying to get more news videos out during the week. Things have been a little busy for me, but I think I should be getting into rhythm here with it, hoping averaging at least one video a week. If I get out more, great. It also kind of depends on the news as well. If nothing's happening, I can't talk about anything. With that being said, in the description below of this YouTube video, of the Twitch video, of the podcast that will be on later, you can find a link to the Discord channel, and you could join Joe's Disc Golf Discord channel, where we talk about everything and anything. Got a couple different rooms there. We could talk about current events, including whatever is going on with the most recent tournament. There's a special channel for that, just in case you don't want any spoilers. We also have different things for technique and help with that, so you can post a video up there, give out some pointers there, help out, try to get your form better. I'm trying to make my form better. Aren't we all trying to make our form better? Even Paul Macbeth is always working on his form. Even though it is probably one of the best in the world, it can always be better because we're all human. So, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Don't forget, if you get a tree kick back into the fairway, to thank Treesus, and if you kick deeper in the woods, well, you have transgressed against Treesus and need to repent and reflect on your ways. Hopefully you end up in the fairway. Thank you all for watching. I've been Joe. You've been awesome. And I can't wait to see you all in the next video, podcast, whatever. Don't forget to rate, review, and all that fun jazz wherever you get your podcast, on YouTube, and everywhere else. All of that really helps feed the algorithm and help more people discover this. You can find the podcast, if you don't want to watch this on YouTube, anchor.fm/Joe's Disc Golf, or wherever you get your podcast, including Google, Apple, Spotify, Breaker, iHeartRadio, whole bunch of different places there. Thank you all again, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.